Robert Taylor adjusted his tie in the mirror, his reflection showing the weariness of a man who had just returned from a week-long medical conference in Chicago. His suitcase lay unpacked by the door, a testament to his constant state of motion. Dara, his wife of 8 years, was in the kitchen, her back to him as she sipped her morning coffee. The silence between them was heavy, a stark contrast to the lively chatter that once filled their home. "Another early practice today?" Robert asked, breaking the silence. His voice was calm, but there was an underlying tension that neither of them acknowledged. "Yeah, the team's got a big match coming up," Dara replied without turning around. Her tone was clipped, her focus on the steaming cup in her hands. She had been distant lately, and Robert couldn't quite put his finger on why. He chalked it up to the stress of her job as a tennis coach for the university's young athletes. Robert glanced at the clock. "I've got a surgery in an hour. I'll probably be late tonight." He waited for a response, but Dara simply nodded, her attention still fixed on the window. He sighed, grabbed his coat, and headed out the door, the weight of their unspoken issues lingering in the air. As Robert drove to the hospital, his mind wandered to the early days of their marriage. They had been inseparable, their love a fiery passion that seemed unbreakable. But now, with his demanding career and her dedication to her students, they had grown apart. He wondered if they could ever find their way back to each other. The sun was setting over the university's tennis courts, casting a golden glow over the neatly lined nets. Dara stood at the edge of the court, her arms crossed as she watched her students practice their serves. Among them was Nick, a tall, athletic junior, with a confident swagger that had caught her attention more than once. "Nick, your form's off," Dara called out, walking over to him. She adjusted his grip on the racket, her hand lingering on his for a moment longer than necessary. "You've got to keep your wrist firm, like this." She demonstrated, her body close to his. Nick smirked, his eyes meeting hers. "Thanks, coach. I'll get it right next time," he said, his voice smooth and teasing. Dara felt a flutter in her chest, a feeling she hadn't experienced in years. She quickly stepped back, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. As the practice ended, Nick lingered behind, helping Dara gather the equipment. "You're really good at this, you know," he said, his tone casual but his gaze intense. "I mean coaching. You've got a way of making us all feel like we can win." Dara smiled, a warmth spreading through her. "Thanks, Nick. That means a lot." They walked together to the storage shed, their conversation easy and light. But as they said their goodbyes, Dara couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted between them. "Hello there. Is Dara doing good flirting with his student, Nick, like that? Is she too old for him? Let's find out. Please subscribe if you like cheating wives getting payback karma. It just take 1 second. Thank you." The next few weeks passed in a blur of practices and matches. Dara found herself looking forward to seeing Nick, their interactions becoming more playful and charged. During one practice, Nick made a particularly impressive shot, and Dara couldn't help but cheer. "That's what I'm talking about," she exclaimed, clapping her hands. Nick grinned, walking over to her. "Guess I've got a good teacher," he said, his voice low. Dara felt her cheeks flush, and she quickly looked away, pretending to focus on the other students. Later that evening, as Dara drove home, her phone buzzed with a text from Nick. "Hey coach, thanks for the tips today. You're the best." She hesitated before replying. "Anytime, Nick. You're a natural." The exchange was innocent enough, but it left her heart racing. When she got home, Robert was already asleep, his face illuminated by the soft glow of his laptop. Dara stood in the doorway, watching him for a moment. She felt a pang of guilt, but quickly pushed it aside. After all, she reasoned, it was just harmless flirting, nothing more. The flirtation between Dara and Nick escalated quickly. What started as playful banter turned into late-night texts and lingering touches during practice. One evening, after a particularly intense match, Nick suggested they grab a drink to celebrate. Dara hesitated, but ultimately agreed. They sat at a small bar near the university, the atmosphere cozy and intimate. Nick ordered a beer, while Dara sipped on a glass of wine. Their conversation flowed easily, and before long, they were laughing like old friends. Nick leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You know, Dara, I've always thought you were amazing." Dara's breath caught in her throat. She knew she should stop this, should put an end to it before it went too far. But the attention felt so good, so intoxicating. She had spent years feeling invisible, and now, with Nick, she felt alive again. As the night wore on, the line between coach and student blurred. When Nick walked her to her car, he leaned in, his lips brushing against hers. Dara knew she should pull away, but instead, she kissed him back, the weight of her guilt momentarily forgotten. The next morning, Dara woke up with a heavy sense of guilt. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the events of the previous night. How had she let things go so far? She thought about Robert, about their daughter Annie, and the life they had built together. She felt sick to her stomach. When Robert came home that evening, Dara was unusually quiet. He noticed her distant demeanor, but assumed it was just stress from work. "Everything okay?" he asked, concern etched on his face. Dara forced a smile. "Yeah, just tired. Long day." She avoided his gaze, afraid that he would see the truth in her eyes. Robert nodded, accepting her explanation, but deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. As the days passed, Dara tried to distance herself from Nick, but it was harder than she expected. He was persistent, sending her texts and finding excuses to be near her during practice. She knew she needed to end it, but a part of her didn't want to let go of the excitement he brought into her life. One afternoon, after practice, Nick cornered her in the storage shed. "Why are you avoiding me, Dara?" he asked, his voice tinged with frustration. "I thought we had something special." Dara sighed, her heart racing. "Nick, this was a mistake. I'm married and I have a family. I can't keep doing this." Nick stepped closer, his eyes pleading. "But what about us? Don't you feel something for me?" Dara hesitated, torn between her guilt and the lingering attraction she felt for Nick. "I do, but it's not right. I need to focus on my marriage." Nick's expression hardened. "Fine, but don't expect me to just disappear." He turned and walked away, leaving Dara feeling more conflicted than ever. Robert's suspicions grew as he noticed subtle changes in Dara's behavior. She was more secretive with her phone, often leaving the room to take calls. She had also started dressing differently, paying more attention to her appearance. Robert couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that something was wrong. One evening, while Dara was in the shower, Robert's curiosity got the better of him. He picked up her phone, his heart pounding as he entered her passcode. He scrolled through her messages, his stomach churning as he read the exchanges between her and Nick. The flirty banter, the late-night texts, it was all there. Robert's hands trembled as he clicked on a video Nick had sent. It was explicit, leaving no doubt about the nature of their relationship. He felt a surge of anger and betrayal, but also a deep sadness. How had they come to this? When Dara came out of the shower, Robert was waiting for her, her phone in his hand. "We need to talk," he said, his voice cold and steady. Dara's heart sank as she realized what had happened. The guilt and shame washed over her, and she knew there was no going back. Robert's eyes were filled with a mix of anger and pain. "How long has this been going on?" he demanded, his voice rising. Dara struggled to find the words. "It's not what you think, Robert. It was a mistake, a moment of weakness." "A mistake?" Robert interrupted, his voice sharp. "You've been lying to me, sneaking around behind my back. How could you do this to us?" Dara's tears flowed freely as she realized the extent of the damage she had caused. "I'm so sorry, Robert. I never meant to hurt you. I don't know what happened." Robert took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. "I need some time to think. I don't know if I can forgive you for this." The confrontation was brutal. Robert's voice was filled with pain and anger as he confronted Dara about the affair. "How could you do this to us? To our family?" he demanded, his eyes blazing. Dara tried to explain, her voice trembling. "I was lonely, Robert. You were always gone, and I felt like you didn't care about me anymore. I know it's not an excuse, but I just wanted to feel something again." Robert shook his head, his frustration evident. "So you thought cheating on me was the answer? Do you have any idea how much this hurts?" Dara's tears flowed freely as she realized the extent of the damage she had caused. "I'm so sorry, Robert. I never meant to hurt you. I don't know what happened." Robert took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. "I need some time to think. I don't know if I can forgive you for this." The days that followed were tense and painful. Robert moved into the guest room, and the once lively household became a place of silence and sorrow. Annie, sensing the tension, became withdrawn, her usual cheerful demeanor replaced by a quiet sadness. Dara tried to reach out to Robert, to apologize and explain, but he was distant and unresponsive. He spent long hours at the hospital, using work as an escape from the turmoil at home. Meanwhile, Dara struggled with her own guilt, knowing that she had destroyed the trust in their marriage. One evening, after Annie had gone to bed, Robert sat down with Dara. "We need to figure out what we're going to do," he said, his voice calm but firm. "I don't know if I can trust you again, but I'm willing to try if you are." Dara looked at him, her eyes filled with hope and regret. "I want to fix this, Robert. I know I messed up, but I love you and I love our family. I'll do whatever it takes to make things right." Robert nodded, his expression serious. "It's not going to be easy. We've got a lot of work to do, but if we're both committed, maybe we can get through this." As they sat together in the dimly lit living room, the weight of their shared history and the possibility of a future hung in the air. They both knew the road ahead would be difficult, but for the sake of their family, they were willing to try. The days that followed the confrontation were tense and painful. Robert moved into the guest room, and the once lively household became a place of silence and sorrow. Annie, sensing the tension, became withdrawn, her usual cheerful demeanor replaced by a quiet sadness. She would often sit in her room, drawing pictures of her family, her young mind struggling to understand why her parents were so distant. Dara tried to reach out to Robert, to apologize and explain, but he was distant and unresponsive. He spent long hours at the hospital, using work as an escape from the turmoil at home. Meanwhile, Dara struggled with her own guilt, knowing that she had destroyed the trust in their marriage. One evening, after Annie had gone to bed, Dara found Robert sitting in the living room, staring at the blank TV screen. She approached him cautiously, her heart pounding. "Robert, we need to talk," she said softly. Robert looked up, his eyes filled with a mix of anger and sadness. "What is there to talk about, Dara? You betrayed me. You betrayed our family." Dara's tears flowed freely as she sat down beside him. "I know, Robert, and I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I was just so lonely, and I made a terrible mistake." Robert sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I know I haven't been the best husband. I've been so focused on work that I neglected you. But that doesn't excuse what you did." Dara nodded, her voice trembling. "I know, Robert, and I'll do whatever it takes to make things right. I love you and I love our family. Please, give me a chance to prove that to you." Robert looked at her, his expression softening. "It's not going to be easy, Dara. I don't know if I can trust you again." Dara reached out, taking his hand in hers. "I understand, Robert, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to rebuild that trust. Please, let's try." Robert hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, Dara, we'll try, but it's going to take time." Robert knew he had a decision to make. He loved Dara, but the betrayal had cut deep. He thought about their daughter, about the life they had built together, and wondered if it was worth fighting for. He also thought about the years of neglect, the times he had prioritized work over his family, and realized that he bore some responsibility for the state of their marriage. One evening, after Annie had gone to bed, Robert sat down with Dara. "We need to figure out what we're going to do," he said, his voice calm but firm. "I don't know if I can trust you again, but I'm willing to try if you are." Dara looked at him, her eyes filled with hope and regret. "I want to fix this, Robert. I know I messed up, but I love you and I love our family. I'll do whatever it takes to make things right." Robert nodded, his expression serious. "It's not going to be easy. We've got a lot of work to do, but if we're both committed, maybe we can get through this." They decided to start couples therapy, hoping that with professional help, they could navigate the difficult path ahead. The first few sessions were tough, with both of them airing their grievances and confronting the pain they had caused each other. But as the weeks passed, they began to understand each other's perspectives and the underlying issues that had led to the affair. Dara realized that her feelings of loneliness and neglect had driven her into Nick's arms, while Robert acknowledged that his focus on work had left Dara feeling unimportant. They both committed to making changes, to prioritizing their relationship and their family. The road to redemption was long and difficult, but Robert and Dara were determined to make it work. They continued with their therapy sessions, working through their issues and rebuilding the trust that had been broken. It wasn't easy, and there were many nights filled with tears and arguments, but they were committed to each other and to their family. Dara cut all ties with Nick, focusing her energy on her family and her career. She realized that the excitement of the affair had been a temporary escape, but it wasn't worth the pain it had caused. Robert, in turn, made an effort to be more present, prioritizing his family over his work. As the months passed, the wounds began to heal. They found a new rhythm, a deeper understanding of each other's needs and desires. The love that had once seemed lost began to rekindle, stronger and more resilient than before. One evening, after a particularly emotional therapy session, Robert and Dara sat together on the porch, watching the sunset. The sky was painted in hues of orange and pink, a beautiful reminder of the beauty that could come after a storm. "Dara," Robert began, his voice soft but filled with emotion, "I want you to know that I forgive you. It hasn't been easy, but I can see how hard you've been trying. I love you, and I want us to move forward together." Dara's eyes filled with tears as she looked at him. "Thank you, Robert. That means more to me than you'll ever know. I love you too, and I'm so grateful for your forgiveness. I promise to never take our love for granted again." Robert reached out, taking her hand in his. "We've been through a lot, but I believe we can come out of this stronger. We've learned so much about each other and about ourselves. Let's keep moving forward together." Dara nodded, a smile breaking through her tears. Together, as they sat there, hand in hand, watching the sun dip below the horizon, they felt a renewed sense of hope and passion. They had faced one of the greatest challenges of their lives, and through it all, they had found their way back to each other. In the end, Robert and Dara learned that marriage was not just about the good times, but about weathering the storms together. They had faced their darkest moments and emerged stronger, their love deeper and more resilient than ever. And as they looked towards the future, they knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together with love, trust, and a renewed commitment to each other.